Have you ever thought of writing a sequel to Paper Towns, or when you write a book, do you know where you want to go from start to finish?
I don't know where I want to go from start to finish, really. I write all the way through. I try to write a first draft all the way through, but then like very little of that draft survives. Like with Paper Towns, the first draft was 80,000 words, and I think only about 8,000 made it into the final book. So like 90% of it was cut. There was all this stuff about like post offices and the world's largest ball of twine. It was like really, it's still in Paper Towns a little bit, just for me, but it was like, the world's largest ball of twine is arguably the main character of the first draft. I learned in that first draft. I don't end up saving much of the writing, but I learned what the story's about. As far as writing a sequel, I would never say never, because I don't know if I'm going to be hard up for money someday, and like I won't have any ideas, and I'll be like, why don't we go back to Culver Creek, or why don't we go back to Orlando and see what happens to Ben Starling, in his first year of college or something. But I feel I like to leave my books, frustratingly, I know to a lot of you, but I like to leave my books unfinished. I like for you to have to finish the last part of them. But I like to leave the characters in a place where it's okay if there's not a sequel. Like, if any of you have read The Hunger Games, which is going to be the next Twilight, thank God. It's good, because I like it. But The Hunger Games is this really, really, really amazingly good book, and the sequel is coming out soon, and it's even better. But at the end of each of those books, you're like, and I try not to do that. Where like I feel like I don't want the reader to feel mad at me on the last page, although maybe sometimes.
Do you like leaving an impression, but open for imagination?
Yeah, exactly. I think that the nature of life is ambiguity. I mean, life is sort of a series of, Daniel, tell me if the math here is wrong, but life is a series, like a game of incomplete information. Is that fair? Very fair. Very fair. Okay. So life is a game of incomplete information, and it's like not solvable. So it's not like tic-tac-toe, where if you go first, you can either win or tie. Which you can, by the way. You didn't know that. Isn't that right, Daniel? Okay, good. all of a sudden I was like, maybe I'm just really bad at life is this game of incomplete information, and I think when we have books that like don't reflect that, they're dishonest in some ways.
So, with your endings, they're very complex, yet they leave an impression.
Good.
That's what wanting to do. Is it harder to write the end in the beginning?
Yeah, I got a comment on one of my YouTube videos recently where someone asked, "Hey, with Paper Towns, were you kind of in a rush at the end?" I was like, man, I spent 3 years writing the book. Like, do you think I got like almost to the end and then I just twiddled my thumb for a year and a half? And then my editor called and she was like, "I really need it tomorrow." And I was like, okay. No, yeah, I do work. I think the ends are harder than the beginnings, but the middles are the hardest. Because like the middle of the book is where it always drags, mine included, definitely, but like the vast majority of books, the middle is kind of a slog, and I feel like I have to work really hard, just like where my talents aren't, is in that middle, because I'm not good at like plotting, I'm not good at tension. Choked it in on vodka. It's true. I know, it's just in Truth or Fail, the new game show that they just. But yeah, I'm sorry.
So you mentioned that, you said writing the middle is the hardest. Is that because you don't know, if you said you don't really write with a goal in mind? When does that become clear to you? Do you just write and see where it takes you, or gradually does it start to form a bigger picture?
It's a good question. It's pretty gradual. I mean, gradually it starts to form a bigger picture. I don't write where it takes me because it always takes me someplace stupid. Like, I'm not one of those, I wish I were sort of more intuitive, and I was just like trying to write down the truth as best as I knew it and letting it come, and I just can't do that. I have to be pretty intentional. I have to like say, I think that this is what this is going to be about, and then I try to write that scene or that chapter or whatever, and you know, hopefully it's good. But if I just kind of go with the flow, I go to, you know, the world's largest ball of twine.
Well, that would have been interesting.
Do you have any other questions? One more?
I think it's about it.
All right.
Oh, but I heard that. I heard that Paper Towns is being made into a movie.
Yeah, well, there's two schools of thought on that, I guess. That trick, by the way, where you're like, I don't have any other questions. Oh, but that Columbo used that a lot to get killers to confess. I'm not going to confess any crimes, but Paper Towns, the movie rights were optioned by the people who made Juno, that movie about teen pregnancy, funny movie about teen pregnancy, I was hired to write the screenplay in a disastrous decision on their part, and I wrote a screenplay. I finished it about a month ago, and I'm going to start rewriting it. Going to start the first big revision soon, like this week probably. And yeah, I don't know if they'll ever make it. Some of you will know this, but I'm a little bit suspicious of the movies. A little bit like Holden Caulfield when it comes to the movies. They feel 99% of them feel phony, and the reason that I was really excited about this was that Juno was one of the movies that I saw, one of the few movies that I've seen that didn't feel phony, and I really loved it. I also loved a movie they made many years ago called Ghost World, and so I really wanted to, I was really excited to work with them, and they're geniuses, and it's been so fun and interesting, and it makes me almost like movies. But the weak link in the chain is me. Unfortunately, that's not modesty. It's just factual observation. So if they never make the movie, then you'll know that it's my fault and no one else's. But yeah, I'm trying hard to make it good. I'm not one of those people who believes that the book should be like the movie, or the movie should be like the book. Like, I don't care what they leave out. I don't care. I wouldn't have cared if, spoiler alert, like, Edward Cullen wasn't a vampire. In the Twilight movie, Edward Cullen had been, you know, a zombie or something. A hot, bloodless zombie. I wouldn't have cared at all. The only question to me is whether or not the movie's good. It's not like relevant whether or not it's like the book. I know that for many people it is relevant. So my priority is trying to write a good movie, which unfortunately I'm just not very good at.
So no future in screenwriting?
I mean, I don't think so. I like it. It's interesting, but I don't know if it's for me.
Well, you're doing extremely well with your book.
Oh, thanks, Sarah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Sarah, everybody.